Howdy y'all, Fuzzy Biker here. We are in Kansas, South Kansas. 480 miles today. We've just about 11 hours, just over 11 hours, like 11 hours and 10 minutes or 5 minutes. And thing just ran like a champ. Very good motorcycle. I burned, I had a partial tank and then I burned 2 full tanks plus another partial. And I got 68 miles a gallon on the first tank and 66 on the second tank. Just been getting great fuel mileage. Just this thing, it runs good. It's got plenty of power. It'll go, you haven't had any wind or anything, but it'll go 65 to 70, even 75, just without any trouble at all. The trip is, 500 miles today, 500 miles tomorrow, or something like that. And get some camping in because I love to camp. Get some motorcycling in. It has been working fabulously. The upright seating position is excellent. The forward controls are nice. They're not as far forward as my Super Meteor, but they are nice. The bike's got a good sound. It's a dead stock motorcycle. It could use a touring seat, I think. That seat is just too soft. Handling is superb. I can't complain a bit about the handling. I think it is a better all-around motorcycle than my Royal Enfield Classic. It isn't as cool, if you think the Classic's cool, which I do. But it has a little bit longer wheelbase. It has a more upright seating position. The bars reach you more. You can see the gauge easier. It's got a bigger gas tank, which is really a big deal. It just does it really well. It's got a very good ride too. I don't know what they did different with that, but I think it's got a 19-inch front tire, 300 millimeter disc on the front with a dual piston bibree, 270 on the rear with a single piston bibree, 55-inch wheelbase, 55.1, I think it's 1400 millimeters. Seat height, I just can't remember what that is. I think it's like 29.1 inches. I'm really amazed at the power. It has good power on the road. Like I said, we haven't had any wind to fight, but been going good. Where am I? All right, you got the tent all set up. I'm not going to put the fly cover on it because it's not supposed to rain tonight, and it's not supposed to get that cool tonight either. So I don't think we'll need it. We'll find out how it is in the morning. Got my chair out, bike's over there. I'm going to clean the helmet off real quick before I call it a night. I've got some snacks laid out over there. Got everything kind of put away, ready to go. Battery for charging, a little bit of a snack. Ah, yes. Life is good. Life is good. Good morning from somewhere in southern Kansas, by golly. Check out that gorgeous sun just coming up over yonder. Looking over this gorgeous lake. There's kind of whiffs of, fog over there just kind of blowing across. I don't know if y'all can make that out, but gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Here's my campsite right here. Good night's sleep. I had that sleep and go mat that I had last time, 2 inches thick. Slept on it really well last night. It worked pretty good. I might still get a thicker one. This one, it did work pretty good though. Check out the bike here. It's all dew covered. Some sort of animal was crawling on it again. I don't know why they do that. I've had that happen on many campsites. We had coyotes howling last night. 2 groups. One group over that way and one group over yonder over that way. And all kinds of birds and stuff like that. Just it's a beautiful morning. It's going to be a great day. Get out and live it, my friends. Life is grand. We have made our way back to the Fuzzy Biker Garage here in A-Town, Iowa. The old hot rod performed admirably. We did about just over 1,000 miles in 2 days. I rode it about 520 miles yesterday, and the day before it was 480 miles. Thing performed like a dream. It was a joy to ride. It was comfortable. It performed well on the roads. I even did a Mesa interstate. The bike speed limited to 72 or 3 miles an hour, but it did it just fine. 60, 65, 70, 65 to 70 easy. We had no winds, and it was flat ground when I was doing that, or relatively flat. So, but it did that all very well. Some things that jump out right away that I want to share with y'all. The bike was very smooth and silent. Somebody mentioned you get trapped in your helmet when you're on a long ride. I was trapped in my helmet, with my own thoughts, and I kept thinking to myself, there's no rumble of the exhaust, or there's no roar. It's just a very comfortable, easy place to be. It does it really well, really well. We went to a total of 5 states. I think Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, Missouri, and what would be the last one? The one I'm standing in, Iowa. So Iowa to Missouri to Nebraska to Kansas, and then I just touched my toes into Oklahoma. I literally stood, I crossed the line, stood by the sign, took a picture, then went back. And that was yesterday. Were there any limits on this bike? Well, yeah, there were. It's a little cramped. It doesn't have the leg room. That's my Super Meteor over here. This is a, the 350 Meteor. The pegs are a little closer to the seat, so you don't have as much leg room, but you do have good leg room. Every now and then I'd find myself just hanging my foot like this, so I could get my knees straightened out. So that was one thing. The other one I already mentioned, the top speed. If you so one of the limits of this motorcycle is like I drove to Colorado and took the interstate. And I got on the interstate 85, 90 miles an hour. This bike won't do that, obviously. Where the 650 Meteor over yonder will do it all day long. So that's one thing. And then the other one is it needs bags. I think if you put I had to put all my gear into this one duffel bag, and that was kind of a hassle in that it was the bag. Yeah, it worked okay. It's just hard to get stuff, and you do need bags. Other than that, I might say pegs. I'm used to these wide pegs like I have over here on my Meteor, my Super Meteor right there. I also have that on my Classic. These pegs were comfortable enough. They work fine. And then the big one is the seat. It needs a different seat. That seat's just too soft. Something I really appreciated was the fuel mileage. I've got a 4-gallon tank. The first day I got 66 and 68 miles a gallon. I think the first tank was 68, the second tank was 66. The next day, yesterday, I got 56 and 59 on 2 different tanks. So the worst tank was 56, the best tank was 68. The reason I got lower gas mileage was I was heading home, so it was a little harder on the throttle. I also did a whole mess of 4-lane, a whole mess of 70 mile an hour running, and the bike did it just fine. The bike nary a hiccup, never had a problem the whole time. 1,000 miles, and the bike ran like a champ every foot of the ride. It handled well, everything worked right. Everything was just, it was perfect. The route I took through the Flint Hills from north to south, that was just amazing. I started with the Glacial Hill area, and that was a lot like Iowa, so not very thrilling to me, but it is pretty. And then from there I went over to the Native Stone Scenic Byway, and that is very intimate. You're closer in, a lot of things to see. A lot of what Kansas did was stonework, the stone walls and stuff like that. And then from there was the Flint Hills Scenic Byway. That was really amazing, volumetric. You'd get up on some of those ridges and you could see hundreds of miles in either direction. I mean, hundreds of miles, square miles, I should say. Just the volume, the immenseness of Kansas was so beautifully visible. It's really quite a varied state. Some of the interesting things, I was looking for gas at one point, and I was in this little tiny town. It seemed like a big enough town to have a gas station. Couldn't find a gas station. So I stopped and asked somebody, and they had a gas station. It was hidden. No signage. It was one of those, it was, back around here, turn back in there, and it's an empty lot over yonder. Well, there it was on a gravel lot, and you had to use your credit card. There was no attendant. The tanks are above ground. It was one of those things. You either know it's there, you ask somebody where it's at, or you just assume there isn't one. And I think that's how a lot of Kansas is. It's a small town. It's a big state, but it's full of small towns, and I like small towns. So I camped overnight. I told you all that. I have my tent and everything in here, all the good stuff. Very nice. Kansas is full of these fishing lakes, and they're free to camp at, so I did that. Got up in the morning, beautiful morning, and listened to the coyotes howling. There were 2 groups of coyotes, one over one way and one the other way, singing back and forth to each other, Just a wonderful evening, Got up, smoke on the water, big rock outcrops, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Flint Hill area, Kansas, just gorgeous. I was actually east of Arkansas City at that point. I rode east from there on what's called 166, which skirts the southern border of Kansas. I rode that all the way to the east end. A friend of mine has a machine shop, or an automotive shop. Stopped and visited him for a minute. Tipped my toes into Arkansas. Then I started heading north on 7. 7 was a varied highway. I did get caught You know, when you're a small town guy like me, you think that dots on the map, the little towns on the map, that there's space between there. Well, over by Kansas City, there's a lot of little towns, but there's no space. It's all concrete. And I did get, you know, it was very hot, and I got caught on some of that in-town, you know, stop and go traffic, and I was just baking. But we got through it, and life went on, you know. Highlights of the trip, I would say, before I forget, I want to mention this helmet. You know, I talked about getting, you know, stuck in your helmet and enjoying the comfort of your helmet. And this is a Shoei Neotech 2 helmet. I got that at Baxter Cycle, baxtercycle.com. They also lent us the motorcycle. This thing is a real gift. You know, I thought it was expensive when I bought it. It's not expensive, it's cheap. You know, once you start using it, you realize how much a good helmet adds to a ride. Other things, so here's the ride, I would say. Things to mention. I would say the windshield on this motorcycle, I have a 350 without a windshield, and I think I'm going to put one on it because that really made the trip on the long ride. You know, if I use that 350 of mine for long rides, I'm going to put a windshield on it. This really kept the weather off of me. We'll talk about rain here in a minute and things like that. The other thing is the bike itself. It just, like I said, it performed admirably, just admirably. The ride itself, pretty uneventful, good weather, no winds really, very, you know, Kansas with no wind. What's going on, right? The road home worked pretty good. I got into northeast Kansas, jumped over into Rollo in Nebraska, ran over to Missouri, and ran into some rain, or I could see rain, you know. I was like 90 miles from home. And the direction I had to go, nothing but a big rain, you know, just black. The sky was black. I had hit reserve 20 miles earlier, so I needed to go somewhere to get a gas, get some fuel. So I started, I looked at my map, and I ended up backtracking about 16 miles and skirting between these big rain clouds. There were massive rain clouds, and they were just dumping tons of rain, but there was also sun between them, you know. So you'd have sunny skies and then these big rain clouds. And I got some fuel, and I'm skirting through all this, and you know, life is looking pretty good. I think I'm going to make it. And I come over this hill, and there's a giant rain cloud right in my way. I mean, right in my way. Nowhere for me to go unless I want to take gravel, and I wasn't going to take that on gravel. I had my good helmet on. I've got my waterproof jacket on, so I'm thinking I'll be okay, and I was. And so I did about a good solid 5 miles, which is nothing. You know, that's nothing in a motorcycle ride, of rain, and that wasn't a problem at all. Got through it, and the ground was just wet. And I was in Shenandoah, Iowa, and I was on the outside lane of the 4 lanes there. And there was 2 cars in the left lane, just about to pass them, and one of the cars decided to jump in front of me. The back car jumped in front of me, and then started hitting the puddles. So I feel they were trying to splash me. So, you know, maybe it was my attitude. I don't know, but got through that. You know, backed off and let them have their fun. But got home. You know, the bike. Look how filthy it is. Not really that bad. I'm going to go clean this up this morning. But got home, you know, just had a wonderful ride. Just had a wonderful ride. The bike tours. This bike will tour. I think if you don't need to go over 70 miles an hour, this bike will take care of you. No problems at all. You know, it just did it well. Very comfortable. You know, I would get the touring seat. I would get the windshield, maybe the bigger pegs. But as far as the pipe goes, I was incredibly happy with the performance. It was quiet. Would I get the cat delete on this? I would have to wonder about that. You know, it might be a nice ad, but it also might add a little rumble to it. But if you kept the stock muffler and you put the cat delete on there, you get a little extra juice. Did I feel like I needed it on this ride? I really didn't, and I was worried about that. So it's a great bike. It's a great bike. If y'all are interested in a motorcycle like this and you use Royal Enfield, Triumph, classic British bike of any type, need parts, accessories, thingamajigs, doodads, stuff. Just need somewhere good to go. Get yourself over to the mighty metropolis of Marnie, Iowa, Baxter Cycle there, or go to baxtercycle.com. Make sure you tell those fine folks that me, Fuzzy Biker, sent you. Let us know what else you guys want to see in these videos. It's having a lot of fun. Summer's here. Let's enjoy it, my friends. Now, it's a beautiful day out there. Sun's shining. I'm going to get on a bike, that one, and go for a ride. Y'all do the same. Wahoo! Yippee-yi-yay! Yippee-yi-yo! Down the road we go! Beautiful, beautiful machine. Turn the radio on. 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 Turn the radio on.